As anger swells over the sickening murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, its roots in the dark and bloodthirsty saga of Saudi Arabia's royal family have been revealed. A power struggle at the royal court fed Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's paranoia and recklessness, and led to the brutal killing of the Washington Post journalist, according to the newspaper. Foreign Affairs columnist David Ignatius said the cutthroat scheming within the House of Saud was equal to the wildest storyline from Game of Thrones. His insight came as rage grew over Donald Trump's response to the killing, with the U.S. president maintaining there was no evidence the Crown Prince knew of the murder plot. Mr. Trump has refused to condemn Saudi Arabia, highlighting the $100 billion the U.S. has made selling arms to the rogue nation and saying downgrading ties would be a grave mistake. "We have a president who is the part of the cover-up as to what happened in that consulate or embassy when Mr. Khashoggi was murdered," former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said at the launch of her speaking tour with husband Bill in Canada on Tuesday. "What makes this so troubling is how much commercial interest both the president's family and business and his son-in-law's family and business have with the kingdom," she added, referring to Trump advisor and daughter Ivanka's husband Jared Kushner. It came amid questions over why officials from the intelligence community, including CIA Director Gina Haspel, were not at a Wednesday closed-door briefing over the U.S. response to Khashoggi's killing. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez accused the Trump administration of trying to stonewall the Senate and called the absence of any intelligence official outrageous. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said afterwards there was no direct reporting connecting the Crown Prince to the murder, while Defense Secretary James Mattis said there was no smoking gun. Mr. Pompeo said a planned vote in the Senate later on Wednesday on whether to consider a resolution to end U.S. assistance for the conflict in Yemen would be poorly timed, as diplomatic efforts to end the conflict were underway. Spy thriller, Inside the Saudi Family Feud. The Post traces the sinister machinations of the Saudi royal family back to the death of the former King Abdullah in January 2015. As he lay on his deathbed in Riyadh, the king's sons and courtiers briefly delayed informing his successor, King Salman, that the monarch had died. They may have been hoping to ensure the Abdullah side of the family could take control of powerful positions and money in the royal court before the new king could stop them. King Salman was reportedly furious when he discovered the cover-up. Later that month, a royal decree removed two of the former king's sons from their positions as governors. King Salman's son, known as MBS, has styled himself as a reformer, ushering in new rights for women in Saudi Arabia. But critics say the Crown Prince has been secretly acting to hold on to power through ruthless and covert methods. Khashoggi was one of his most prominent detractors, exposing how the Crown Prince's crackdowns on supposed corruption worked to strengthen his own control. U.S. and Saudi experts told the Post that since 2017, a team of Saudi intelligence operatives has been kidnapping and torturing dissidents in the country and overseas. That allegedly included a member of the Abdullah faction, who was abducted in Beijing in August 2016 in an operation that read like a spy thriller, vortex of rage and lawlessness of internal war within and the Saudi court became increasingly fraught, with the Abdullah faction bugging some of the prince's phones and surveillance devices hidden in ashtrays and other items around palaces in Riyadh. The Saudis' increasingly close relationship with the U.S. became central to this tale. In May 2016, several members of the Abdullah faction met former CIA operatives in Washington. A month later, MBS met then-President Barack Obama in Washington, and impressed him with his modernizing ideas. The U.S., previously neutral in the Saudi power struggle, began leaning towards the prince. In June 2017, MBS became Crown Prince and official heir to his father King Salman's throne. Once Mr. Trump became president, his son-in-law Mr. Kushner began working with the Crown Prince, visiting Saudi Arabia in October 2017. Just a week later, MBS made his boldest move, arresting more than 200 Saudi princes and senior officials for alleged corruption. He included one of the late king's sons, who had expressed concerns about MBS to China and the US. Prince Turki bin Abdullah remains in captivity, while his top military aide died in custody. The Crown Prince has become increasingly autocratic, fearful of threats to his life or a coup by the enemies who surround him. One of his senior advisors in the Center for Studies and Media Affairs, Saud al-Qahtani, reportedly began assembling cyber weapons. Mr. Qahtani has been named by US and Saudi officials as central to Khashoggi's killing. Machiavellian, Prince entered a vortex of rage and lawlessness, according to the Post, becoming increasingly furious about articles written by Saudi citizen Khashoggi and his ties to Turkey and Qatar. 18 months before the murder, MBS organized a rapid action capability, and in July 2018, issued a Bring Him Back order. 3 months later, Khashoggi vanished at the Saudi embassy in Istanbul. 18 Saudis have now been arrested over the murder, including a former intelligence officer and MBS bodyguard. But Saudi experts say the Crown Prince is likely to hold on to power, unless his conversations with Mr. Qahtani can be unearthed. Meanwhile, the bitter internal feud rages on, and the US appears to be again managing an uneasy relationship with an unpredictable and bloodthirsty ruler.